Warning: the following review will contain spoilers for The Intercept by Dick Wolf. If you haven't already seen that review, check the description for a link, or better yet, read the book for yourself. The Execution is the second in Dick Wolf's best-selling thriller series about NYPD detective Jeremy Fisk. It picks up shortly after the first book, which saw Detective Fisk narrowly stopping a terrorist attack from killing both President Obama and former President George W. Bush. However, his partner and girlfriend, Krimson, was murdered by the terrorist of the book, and now Fisk has to deal with a devastating loss while trying to take on a new threat orchestrated by a Mexican drug cartel. An assassin within one of these cartels is planning a dangerous political attack in New York, and it's up to Fisk to stop him. Fortunately, Fisk has Cecilia Garza, a high-ranking Mexican police officer marked by how not corrupt she is, helping him. How does this plot compare to the first book? For one, I'd say the opening is much stronger. Where The Intercept opened to Fisk disobeying orders in a moral gray area and not receiving any apparent punishment for it, this book starts us on the cartel murdering 23 people and decapitating them, leaving their corpses laying around a small Mexican town as a message to anyone who would dare mess with them. This not only announces how dangerous they are, but also how courageous and determined Commander Garza must be to continue pursuing them and Chuparosa, the assassin I mentioned earlier. However, like the first book, the female character operating alongside Fisk did a better job grabbing my attention than Fisk himself. Some of that was because the first several chapters follow Garza and her crew exclusively, while the book left Fisk behind as an afterthought. Fisk feels like a side character within his own book, something which I like to call Vaughn syndrome, where the main character isn't really the main character. Fortunately, Garza is interesting enough to move the story forward. She's often cold to her officers, earning her the nickname the Ice Queen, but she secretly harbors a desire to be softer and open up more. However, doing so would be career suicide in a too corrupt police agency in which she would be eaten alive without her tough exterior. She's determined and rough, confiding only in her second-in-command. She's displayed more character in half a book than Fisk did between two. It's not that Fisk is really a bad character, he just doesn't really stand out. He doesn't have loud outbursts, he doesn't drive home through these intense moments of drama or action, he just kind of goes with the flow, meandering through the plot as the story needs him to. He does have his moments though, like when he has a chance to visit the first book's terrorists being held in a maximum security prison. This is one of the only moments where he gets to show any emotion relating to Gersten's death. Now, if someone murdered my girlfriend of several years, I'd either be waterlogged from crying too much, or I'd be on the psycho murder revenge path. Fisk chooses instead to be very cool in his anger, taking the chance to display his mastery over his emotions by even giving the terrorist a cupcake, not as a gift, but as a mark of superiority. I can't say that I really relate to Fisk in this way, but that doesn't make him a bad character. It's his inability to really display emotion that I'm not crazy about. He's all business, like he's some kind of robot or something. He might crack the case, but he makes very few waves as he does. Throughout the book, we see Fisk and Garza bounce off each other. Their styles differ in some ways, such as Fisk using his network within the NYPD and throughout other law enforcement agencies, or Garza's more direct method of going straight at the problem. Of course, she also has to play defense since the Mexican president is in New York and she's supposed to be heading a security detail. I don't know if Mexico's presidential security details are set up like that, but it doesn't seem too off. Chuparosa, the assassin, is rather mysterious, and much of that is in how little we get to see him directly on the pages. Most of what we know about him is given to us through Garza, who paints him as a very cunning, extremely dangerous man. He's known for carving hummingbirds into his victim, which is how he got his name since Chuparosa translates to hummingbird. Perhaps not the manliest of names, but that won't cross your mind after you see how many people he murders. I mean, there's just no off button on this guy, which is what makes the ending a little disappointing, but you'll just have to find that out for yourself. As I write this, it's actually been a month since I finished the book, and I can't tell you much about the actual mystery element of the plot. Fisk and Garza chat and go about their business, but as far as pulling clues and leads together, checking on forensics and the like, I really couldn't tell you much of what happened. This, unfortunately, ties in very well with how Fisk felt as a character, limp and lifeless. If a thriller leaves you wondering what even happened and the stories or characters don't stick to you, then it didn't really do its job. On top of that, I can't recall moments where I was really gripped by what was going on, which is what writers like Lincoln Child or Steve Alton do for me. So really, I think I'm going to leave the series here. There's a third book already out, but I'm not sure if I'm going to bother with it at this point. Overall, the story had a slow pace, dull characters outside of Garza, and not much of a story. If the book had just focused on Garza, then I'd be tempted to give it a pretty good rating, but said as it is, I'm leaning more towards meh. Some people might like it, but I'm not one of them. So, have you read the book? What did you think? If not, do you want to read it now? Whatever your thoughts, comment below and stay tuned for more.